What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the KindaFunny Xcast, your home for all things Xbox here at KindaFunny. Of course, I'm one of your hosts, Snowbike Mike, and today I am joined by the rogue one, Mr. Gary Whitta. Gary, what's good, my guy?
Happy Friday, Mike. How are you?
I'm feeling good, Gary. It's Friday, another week down. We have 1 week left until the holiday break, so another 2 weeks off here from content with KindaFunny, and I'm excited to celebrate the holidays, Gary.
Yeah, me too. It's my favorite time of the year. It's also my wife's birthday today, so happy birthday, Leah.
Happy birthday, Leah. She's one rockin' gal, Gary Whitta.
and let me tell you something. She has been putting up with a lot since we had this second kid. She's now almost 2 months old, and the last 8 weeks, anyone who's ever had a baby will tell you it can be rough. You know, you learn to live without much in the way of sleep or really doing much, of anything other than trying to keep this little thing alive. And it's a lot. It's really, really draining. And I do what I can to help, but most of it falls on Leah's shoulders, and she's it's amazing to see her do what she does. I think I certainly couldn't do it. It's incredible.
Well, happy birthday, Leah. I hope that you get some time off soon enough to play some video games and, of course, enjoy that lovely family of yours for the holiday break. That's awesome, Gary. It has snowed up here in Tahoe, Gary, so I'm enjoying the fun snow, the white Christmas around here in Lake Tahoe, which is going to be pretty fun. And
is this the start of the season now? Are you entering ski season?
Yeah, we're finally kicking on. We're a couple of weeks behind our normal ski season, Gary, which should start a week before Thanksgiving. But you know what? I think the town is energized. The town is excited to see the snow, to get the chairs turning, get people up here, hitting the casinos, hitting the slopes. It's going to be a fun time. And so I'm really excited as well, Gary. This is one of those. This is really my first holiday away from working the 9 to 5. If you remember, of course, coming from the service industry up on the mountain, we don't really take holidays off up there. That is kind of prime time. You got to be there. And so this is one of my first times having the holidays off with KindaFunny, whether it be Thanksgiving, now Christmas and New Year's. This will be a really cool time to recharge, celebrate the holidays, kind of make it my own. This is my first time I won't be working on Christmas Day or New Year's Day. So
nice.
I'm going to try to make it something fun.
I'm glad you're going to get to finally kick back and relax this Christmas. There's no snow here, but let me tell you, here in San Francisco, it is cold today. Barrett, don't you think it's cold today?
It's perfect. It's sunny and it's brisk, and
it's sunny and cold.
And I would say, like, I was talking to my dog walker when she was picking up Lulu earlier today, and we were talking about, like, it's the perfect San Francisco weather. This is the weather
it's very San Francisco. It's deceptive because you see the bright sunshine. You think, I'm not going to need it. I just go out in my T-shirt, and then you walk outside.
Back in high school, when I was living in the East Bay, but still going to school in the city, I would look over, the bay and see, like, oh, it doesn't look cloudy, it doesn't look sunny. I'm going to put on some shorts. I feel great out here in the East Bay, and put on some shorts and go to school. And then I get to the sunset, and it's all like cloudy.
That microclimate hits you.
Yeah, it really does. So yeah. It's great.
Well, people are probably saying to themselves, what the heck did I just tune in? Are we listening to a weather podcast? We're listening to the KindaFunny podcast? No, you are tuned into the KindaFunny Xcast. Of course, we post each and every Saturday at 6 a.m. West Coast, Best Coast time on youtube.com/KindaFunnyGames, roosterteeth.com, and of course on podcast services around the globe. Don't forget that you can support KindaFunny in a multitude of ways, whether it be over on YouTube, hitting that subscribe button, checking us out on Twitch, where we record live with KindaFunny Games daily, each and every weekday at 10 a.m. on twitch.tv/KindaFunnyGames, or in a brand new way. Don't forget, we're now Epic Games partners, which means you can support the team, whether you're buying V-Bucks off the Epic Games store, or if you're upgrading your car in Rocket League, you can use our Epic Creator Code at checkout. It's no additional cost to you. It is KindaFunny. So please use that Epic Creator Code whenever you can to support the team here. We'd like to thank some of our Patreon supporters, our Patreon producers for the month of December: Kranksky, Tyler Ross, Delaney Twinning, Julian the Gluten-Free Gamer, Alex J. Sandoval, James Hastings, Casey Andrews, and of course, Greg Miller returns to content next month. Nick Scarpino should quit now. Thank you all so much for supporting us throughout the month of December on that Patreon tier. Of course, the Xcast is sponsored by Honey, ExpressVPN, Audible, and HBO Max. But myself and the team will tell you all about that in just a little bit. Gary, let's talk video games, because that's why we're all here. It's nice to catch up with you. We don't get to see each other often throughout the week, so it's nice to get that catch-up time. And, of course, it is Halo week. Halo Infinite campaign dropped on this Wednesday. If you want to tune into the Kinda Funny review, you can check out the latest Kinda Funny Games cast, where myself, Paris Lilly, Tim Geddes, and Andy Cortez all sit down to talk about our experiences and our thoughts on Zeta Halo and all things Halo Infinite campaign. But this is the Xbox podcast here at Kinda Funny. This is you and I and Paris. We gather around to talk about Xbox, and of course, Halo is the big Xbox topic. And you weren't on the review this week, so it's a perfect chance to catch up. You and I have a little one-on-one. Tell me what you think of Zeta Halo, what you think of the Halo campaign, and are you having fun with Master Chief, the weapon, and the pilot? So I'll kick it over to you, Gary. Tell me about Halo Infinite campaign so far for you.
So I set out the last show, the review, because I knew I wasn't going to have a chance to finish the campaign, in time to be on the episode. And I still haven't made very much progress with the campaign. I'm planning to start this weekend. I've just been so busy. So I can, I remember I played the first few hours of the campaign because you remember, Mike, we all got access to the preview build.
Mm-hmm.
We got to play around with it early, and I did the opening stuff on the banished ship, got down to the Halo ring, and then just kind of potted around doing cool open world. I can go over here, I can go over there. Like, the game's not pushing me in any particular direction, and did a bunch of the little, the fobs and little mini missions and things like that, but didn't want to progress too much in the actual campaign because, as you remember, Mike, this. In that preview build, we were told that none of our progress would carry over into the finished game, and there's also no achievements. I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to play this. I kind of want to get the achievements, so I didn't go any further through the campaign. I kind of parked it right there, and my plan was to restart with the release build, which is of course now out. But since it came out, I just haven't had a chance to get to really get into it further than I already had. So I can kind of reiterate what I said last time, which is I thought it's a really interesting opening. To me it kind of reminds me of the original game. The first couple of levels were just on the ship, very corridor based, very linear, and then when you land on the Halo is that moment where the world kind of opens up before you and you realize, oh wow, this is a much bigger, more open world. And the original Halo, of course, we didn't even really have much of a concept of open world back then 20 years ago. We certainly do now. And so I think it's really interesting to see Halo make. I think everyone's agreed at this point. Kind of, it's a half step into. It's not a truly open world, but it's a half step in that direction. And I think that's very interesting. I read a piece on Kotaku, and I don't know about Kotaku these days, Mike. I kind of feel like they've got a little bit clickbaity, a little bit contrarian in recent times.
Okay,
but I did read a piece that really went in hard on the opening. Because I was surprised. I was surprised because so many people posted positive impressions. I had positive impressions. People that accessed the preview build, and then this Kotaku writer really went in hard. Just said the opening is terrible. It's boring. It's linear. And I didn't agree with a lot of what he said from a gameplay perspective. I thought the opening was fine. But I did agree, and I've said this before with his comments on the narrative, which is I didn't really appreciate or enjoy or think was helpful the way the game just kind of drops you into. I'm like, who's this guy? What's going on here? I just kind of felt like I was expected to figure all this stuff out on my own, and having not been, I'm not necessarily like fully up on all the Halo lore. I don't remember how Halo 5 ended. That was 6 years ago. So I kind of felt like a little bit all at sea in terms of the opening. And we've all talked about this before on the podcast. New generation. It's been 6 years since the last Halo. This is an opportunity. We do remember when Paris was talking to his kids about, do you think Halo's cool? And they're like, no, that's what the dads play. And there's an opportunity now, and I think they've done very well with the multiplayer with this new game to introduce Halo to a new audience. Not just the Halo diehards that have been around forever and want the latest installment, but for those gamers for whom this is a first installment, this needs to kind of onboard those gamers. In an interesting way. And the multiplayer obviously just kind of throws you in, and we all know how the multiplayer works, and that's fine. But from a narrative point of view, if you're not up to speed on Halo lore, and there's so much of it, how much lore there is in the Halo universe, layers and layers and layers of it, so many proper nouns. I just kind of tune a lot of it out, and I just kind of felt like the game could have done a better job in the early going of being more accessible to people for whom this might be their first Halo game. So again, my thoughts are restricted to the early, just the opening few hours, because that's all I've done so far. Once I finish the campaign, I'll come back and talk to you more. The other thing I did find was interesting. I saw a couple of articles related to this, Mike, and I don't know if you noticed this, but it seems like they kind of ranked they ranked up the difficulty level in that normal is now more like the old heroic, and heroic is now more like the old legendary. Like they kind of boosted all the difficulty levels. I don't know if you noticed that, but all the more reason for me to play on easy, which I always do anyway.
I love that, Gary. Yeah, for me over here, I'm going back for my second time around to 100% the game. Of course, during our review period, I only missed out on the skulls. I was very close to 100%ing the game before our review had to go up. And so I'm back again. I'm already halfway through, just slowly collecting everything and just having a blast returning back to the ring. And for me, Gary, I'm back on heroic. I think I found a really good comfort zone on heroic during our review period, right? I never felt like it was too difficult. There were some challenging moments that I really enjoyed where I kind of banged the controller on the table and said, okay, what do I need to do to overcome this obstacle? And I enjoyed that kind of thrill. But actually, for me, I felt like heroic was just a step down from where I needed to be. And I was very tempted to try legendary on my own this second time around, but I did heroic again. I want 100% it, but I do want to dip my toe in legendary. I think that's something, Gary, as we talk about the no co-op, the co-op, right? Legendary has always, in my mind, been reserved for co-op, right? You do that with a teammate or multiple Spartans, and you kind of get through this really difficult challenge. But right now, I really enjoyed heroic. I think if you're a returning Halo fan like myself, if you've been playing a lot of the multiplayer, I think you're going to find a good challenge and a good spot right at heroic. And I highly recommend everybody jumping into that. But it is nice to see the different difficulty scalings, and I'm happy that you're finding something. But there was a couple moments on heroic that challenged me enough.
Yeah, again, for me, it's baby mode all day long. And when I read that, it sounded like, oh, these levels are kind of harder than they used to be. Like, again, like the idea that normal is more like the old heroic and heroic's more like the old legendary, and then God knows what the new legendary is like. I'll definitely be playing through on easy because I'm what they call a content tourist. I just want to get through the game, see all the story. Okay. I don't want to fight the same boss 50 times. It's I don't have the time. Who has the time to spend that long playing a game? I kind of want to consume the game and get on to the next thing. Our backlogs are bad enough as it is. It is a game that I could maybe say. I very rarely do this, but I do like the idea, if not necessarily 100%. The game. I did read something the other day about how there are some multiplayer cosmetics that can be found within the single player campaign.
Yeah,
which I'll probably be dialing up a guide to find out where they are because I'd love to get my multiplayer cosmetics. I just redeemed the perk today for the green battle rifle. I think that went up this week.
Gary.
Gotta get the goodies.
Now, where did you get that? Do you remember? What did you get that with?
It's with Game Pass
for you. There you go.
Game Pass rewards. Yeah, it's a Game Pass exclusive. So I redeemed that today. I like to have all the bling. And so, yeah, I need to come back to you after I've spent more time with the campaign. So really, right now, again, I'll without any spoilers, Mike, this is more about me asking what you thought because you've obviously had much more experience with the game. Let me ask you this: do you, as a much more of a Halo diehard than me, and someone who's much more familiar with the gameplay evolution and the narrative evolution of the games over the years, do you feel like this new game moves the ball forward in a meaningful way, either in terms of the Halo narrative or the Halo gameplay experience?
Yeah, I think it does, Gary. I think 343 really nailed it. I actually talked about it on the review. This is personally my favorite Halo story. I know Paris really held near and dear to Halo 3, but for me, I think narrative-wise, this is a good reset is what I'm going to call it. And of course, we won't spoil anything, but I think it was a good onboarding from new fans. And I think for veteran fans, I think you got the answers that you want. I got the answers personally that I wanted coming in to this Halo installment. And I was really pleased with where we are. So I think on the narrative side, this is my favorite story so far for Master Chief. I am really pumped up on where we go after this and what 343 can do in this universe. And then on the flip side, I think new players really got a good opportunity to be onboarded to Chief, have their own stories with Chief. And I think that's something you and I will talk about with the gameplay, right? It's something that's really cool here with this semi-open world. We're just going to call it open world from this point forward. Gameplay is everybody's story with Master Chief will be unique and will be different, right? We'll all have those touchstones of certain story beats or cool outposts along the Zeta Halo, but everybody will come at it at a different way. And I'm really excited to hear more stories from my friends along the ring, which is what I've been calling it.
The onboarding thing is interesting. It may well be that once I play more hours into it, that I'll feel like it does. I'll agree more with you, and feels like it is more a good entry point for new players. All I know is in my experience that wasn't the case in the first few hours. But maybe it's like one of those TV series, where people say like, oh, you've got to give it a few episodes before it really kicks in. So I'll definitely, I'm 100% going to play through the whole game. And it may well be that, as the story develops, you kind of feel like it does do a better job of introducing you to, again, this very, very dense Halo lore that has evolved over the years. Because I do feel like that is something that they need to do if they want to appeal not just to kind of the Halo diehards that we're going to pick this game up anyway, but to kind of the younger, perhaps more skeptical generation, kind of feel like, again, Halo's the game that I kind of grew up hearing my dad talking about. I don't know how much of an issue that really is in terms of kind of making Halo cool again for a new generation of gamers, but certainly on the multiplayer side, they've succeeded. The multiplayer, with the caveats that have been well discussed already, I think the multiplayer has been a home run. And I'll get back to you when I've had a chance to fully experience the single player.
Yeah, I can't wait, Gary. I'm really excited. And yeah, for me, when I look at the new player's perspective, I think you have a really dialed in story that focuses on Chief, of course, the new AI, the weapon, and the pilot, and then the Banished, right? I think taking away the number, right? Not saying this is Halo 6 or Halo 20, you know what I mean? Just saying infinite, I think gives a good opportunity. We always talk about those numbers, right, Gary, alongside titles where people say, I'm a little apprehensive to jump into Halo 6 here. But Halo Infinite, I think, has a really good story where it focuses down on just the base level where anybody can understand it. You're not getting smacked over the head with like, who's that? Who's this? What's that inside joke? What's this reference? I think you really have a good streamlined story here. So shout out to 343 on that. On the side of gameplay, yeah, I think they did push it forward, Gary, and I think they did it in a really awesome way. I've talked about it before, the blending of the linear storytelling missions that we all know and love from the franchise. And then on the opposite side, this new open world mechanic, right? This kind of like build out and pad out the gameplay that you can have, right? You can golden path it and just do the story missions, or you can get lost in this cool open world. You can experience Halo for the first time, right? You get to be boots on the ground. You get to go out there and explore all the different caves, the different outposts on top of the mountains, whatever it may be. And I think the exploration is really a big factor here on why that wow factor is catching a lot of people, because you've never got to do that. You've never had the infinite opportunities to come at mini bases or different outposts on different ways and different styles. And that's what's really exciting to me. And I think the game as a whole, and what I'm really pumped up about, of course, I keep saying is everybody's different experiences, but what 343 does next, like you said, this open world does not reinvent the wheel by any means, right? These are just straight up, hey, here's a basic base, go at it, destroy the 10 enemies, you've captured it. Hey, go to the larger base. Here's 4 tasks that I need to do within the larger base, you've captured it, right? There's nothing really groundbreaking in the open world, but it felt like a good beta test is what I've been thinking in my mind of like, what could be next and what, with all the positive reception, what will be next in the next Halo, as you have to assume it will probably start to continue this open world, semi-open world sandbox, whatever you want to call it. So I think they nailed the first test flight, the foundation of what this world will look like and play like, and the toys that they put in it, right, Gary? I mean, you feel it. The moment you drop in, you have endless opportunities to do it any way you want. You could go explore and steal a ghost and go attack every enemy base with a ghost. You could go grab a sniper rifle, stand 500 meters on top of a mountain, shoot down upon the enemies, kill them. You can grab Marines and roll up to the front door of the base, go after them. You have the equipment now, from the grapple hook to the shield to the thrusters, and it like gives you, the player, the power to choose how you want to do it. And so from both angles, the story and gameplay, I think personally 343 knocked it out the park with what they wanted to do and what we'll see in the future for Halo in this studio, which is great.
I was going to say one thing that I do remember I really enjoying from my first few hours of the game, is I thought like the traversal was really, really good.
Mm.
Like the game would like drop me a mongoose or a warthog or whatever and say, hey, there's a mission, like 5 miles over here. Like, here's a vehicle to go over there. I'm like, no, I'm good. I'll just run, because it's actually fun to get over there on foot. The nice thing about Master Chief is he really does feel like he moves around like a badass, right? Like, the grapple hook is a game changer. It's so much fun to grapple around the environment. We love that. And then even in terms of just like general kind of like there's so many video games, like you ask yourself, like, why the fuck can I not jump over that 4-foot fence? Like, it's ridiculous. But with Master Chief, you can do a lot of jumps and traverse a lot of obstacles that you might expect not to be able to, especially with the clamber mechanic. You can climb, and it's not really like Assassin's Creed or Zelda, where you're like kind of parkouring and clambering and climbing all over the place, but you can traverse. The Halo environment is very mountainous and very hilly and rocky, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of, and you think, oh, no, I remember a few times thinking, I'm probably going to have to go round this, mountainous landscape, right? There's no way I'm going to be able to climb that, but I could. And I just remember the traversal feeling it just had a good feel to it. We talk about like the gunplay has a really good feel to it. And I felt like the traversal and the movement feels really good as well.
Yeah, the traversal is great. And I think a lot of players I brought up in the review are going to get attached to the grapple hook. I think most players, probably 90% of the time, are just going to use the grapple hook in all instances. They'll probably even traverse around the map with the grapple hook, which I know I caught myself doing a lot of. But of course, I encourage everybody to go check out all of the different equipment and really vary up your play style. But yeah, from traversal into the fobs of being able to call in any sort of vehicle, all the different UNSC weapons. And that's another one that they did a really good job at, was making those high value targets worthwhile, worth your experience, right? They are just almost copy and paste experiences where you go to a certain area. He's got 20 goons. You kill the goons, you kill him. But the cool part is you get his unique weapon. And each of those weapons, Gary, really actually bring a different play style that I really enjoy, right? Each one have a variant of the normal Covenant weapons that you would find out there. And I think they did a really good job at making it worthwhile, making it worth my time to go out and kill all those high value targets. Because once you really up your arsenal from vehicles, the special variant weapons, you really become super powerful, and it's a ton of fun. And that's one I noticed a lot of people out there, Gary, you talk about that open world and the Halo itself. A lot of people kind of down on the biomes. And that was one I kind of felt differently. I actually enjoyed that Pacific Northwest kind of foresty feel. I didn't want to see a snowy, a desert, an ocean beach. I wanted them to keep it sweet, keep it simple, and let's see what it can look like. Sure, when we move down the line and it's DLC, or if it's a new Halo Infinite 2, maybe some different biomes. But for me, I didn't want to leave that biome. I didn't want to stretch that out and see one good, one bad. Have you felt that so far in your open world?
I mean, like I said, I haven't. I can't usually with a game that has like however many hours the campaign is, you expect there to be some variety in the landscapes. And here's the snowy level or whatever. Obviously, the nature of the Halo rings is the landscape is like it's not like here's the desert portion of the ring. I mean, they do tend to all be again like that kind of mountainous. Green and gray Pacific Northwest. And I remember even in the earlier Halo games, there were some kind of snowy environments and things like that, going all the way back to Halo 1. So again, I'll have a better sense of if it starts to feel samey to me once I've finished playing it. But for the most part, I'm just glad that I feel like they did it. You go back and so many hours we spent talking on the podcast about the delay and is this a good thing or a bad thing? And one of the very first episodes we did, if not the very first, I went in really hard on that first a demo that they showed, and it was a nightmare. And there was a lot of hand wringing and genuine worry about whether or not they were going to bring this one in. And the delay obviously was a bummer at the time, but again, it's obviously such a good thing that they chose to delay it. God knows what it would have looked like if they had shipped this a year ago. I think it would have been a disaster. Because even now, even with that extra year of development, there are some things, that people are bummed, no co-op campaign. We've got to wait longer for that. Some people kind of feel like as great as the multiplayer is, they would have liked a few more maps, a few more modes early on. So, even with that extra year, it feels like they just kind of squeezed this out in time. But we talked before, and Paris has talked about it as well. Like this had to be more than just good, right? This is Halo. It's their crown jewel. It's it's the new generation. This really, really has to fly. And if this is a flop, it's an absolute nightmare for Microsoft. And I feel like they've very much cleared that bar. It's multiplayer, people are loving it. Again, I'll have my own thoughts on it when I finish it, but the single player campaign seems to have been a hit as well. So I want there to be good games in the world. I'm much happier when games turn out to be good than when they turn out to be bad. So I'm glad that they did it. And I know a bunch of the people at 343. Some I've known for many, many years, and seeing them tweeting and celebrating on the day that it came out. I was just so happy for them, because they worked on this thing for a long time. And some of the reporting that we've seen, Jason Schreier talking about inside the development of Halo, it obviously was, not the vibes inside the team and the studio were not great for from time to time, it seems like. And so I'm just glad that, that they had a happy ending.
Yeah, Gary, it does seem like a happy ending and a great cap off to 2021 for Xbox, right? A lot of great games coming out there, reviewing very, very well, a lot of positive reception, and just a lot of big player base numbers, right? A lot of people are excited to get their hands on these first party games, and especially through Game Pass, which has been really, really special. But right now we're looking at Halo Infinite currently on Metacritic at about an 86. I'm very excited once you complete it to sit down with you and Pears, kind of have that spoiler cast, talk about the story itself, hear what you think after you finish the experience and where you kind of fall. But for me right now, Gary, when we talk about the whole package, us here at KindaFunny, we usually don't put numbers on things. We have our own review scale. But when I want to put a number on it, for me, Gary, I think this is a 9 out of a 10. I think this is a really well done product from 343. That multiplayer experience is killer, right? Free to play. It absolutely rocks your socks. It has a lot of fun to be had. The negative sides of that, Gary, of course, I would like to see some more maps. I would like to see some more playlists and game modes open up, but that will come with time. But when you look at it just from a foundational level, that is a killer multiplayer suite. And then on the flip side, I really enjoyed the campaign, right? I loved the story. I loved the sandbox. I loved the gameplay. For me, the biggest negative is the replayability. When I look back on it all, I just don't know where I go next. And so I look forward to seeing what 343 can add when we get to co-op down in May, if that's still the date that will hold. Of course, when we see Forge introduced to multiplayer, how can that elevate it? But very small, limited critiques after leaving this experience. Really, really pleased, and a great way to end my 2021 year of gaming, which I'm excited about.
Yeah, and the best thing I can say about the multiplayer is just from my own experience. Like I've spoken about this many times before, I gave up trying to play online first-person shooters many years ago. Like, Call of Duty, I'll play the campaign, but I don't even bother to go into the multiplayer. I used to play a lot of PUBG, but I gave that up years ago because I just felt like I wasn't competitive and, it wasn't fun for me anymore. I played a little bit of Warzone, and again, but I just kind of felt like I couldn't keep up with all these, virile young athletes, e-athletes who are running around, shooting me in the back of the head effortlessly, these Shroud-type moves that I can't possibly compete with. And I'm not particularly good at Halo Infinite either. Most of the time I rage and I get really frustrated and I feel like the game's being terribly unfair to me. And yet I keep coming back for more. Yeah. And it's that classic kind of fuck this game. Okay, just one more. Like if you can find that sweet spot, that's where you want to be. And I feel like that's where they are.
Yeah. I'm very happy with all of it. So shout out to 343 and Team Xbox. You did a great job. All of you, each and every one of you, contributed to an incredible game. So great job, everybody. And I can't wait to catch up with Gary maybe next week or into January when we return after our holiday break to have more talks about his experience on Zeta Halo. But if you're listening right now, I hope you're enjoying it since Wednesday when it released. Let me know your thoughts so far, if you're enjoying the story, if you're loving the open world, if you're having fun with all the equipment. And of course, my biggest question, has anybody been able to actually link up the equipment in a smooth and awesome way? Because I cannot do it, Gary. The controls are not very well set up for me to go into thruster, grapple hook, throw down a shield, recon, and then thruster again. It just doesn't work well on the D-pad. But let me know out there if you got it. And right now, we're going to take a moment to take a word from our sponsors.
This episode is brought to you by HBO Max. HBO Max has kept my streaming queue stocked all year with all kinds of amazing content, including The Matrix Resurrections coming out later this month. I cannot wait for that. Of course, right now you can watch Succession Season 3, Insecure Season 5, so many great shows. Curb Your Enthusiasm Season 11. Come on. HBO Max has all your favorite titles available for streaming, and they've got something for everyone. Don't miss out on taking your entertainment game to the next level. HBO Max is the streaming home of over 13,000 hours of addictive series, blockbuster movies, and exclusive originals. You can start streaming on your favorite devices today. Sign up now at hbom.ax/kindafunnydec. hbom.ax/kindafunnydec. It's like December, kind of funny December. Kind of funny DEC at hbom.ax/kindafunnydec. Next up, shout out to Audible, because you definitely want to listen to Andy Weir's Project Hail Mary on Audible. This interstellar science-based thriller from the best-selling author of The Martian is skillfully performed by Ray Porter, who brings the already gripping tale to life with vibrant and witty narration. A lone astronaut must save the Earth from disaster in this epic tale of discovery, speculation, and survival that's part scientific mystery, part intergalactic journey, and all edge-of-your-seat entertainment. This is one you don't want to miss. This Audible Studios production of Project Hail Mary is a #1 New York Times audio bestseller, and it's continuing to top Audible's bestseller charts and getting all kinds of rave listener reviews. You can hear what listeners are calling the highest order of geekgasm metal. Get on over to audible.com/Project Hail Mary and listen now. That's audible.com/Project Hail Mary. Audible.com/Project Hail Mary. Next up, shout out to ExpressVPN. Using the internet without ExpressVPN is like going to the bathroom and not closing the door. It's nasty, it's bad, and it's not safe. Your internet service provider knows every single website you visit. ISPs can sell this information to ad companies and tech giants who then use your data to target you. But with a VPN, your ISP can't follow you around the internet. ExpressVPN creates a secure, encrypted tunnel between your device and the internet, so your online activity can't be seen by anyone. ExpressVPN is rated #1 by Business Insider and Tech Radar. It works on phones, laptops, and even routers, so everyone who shares your Wi-Fi can also be protected. I've been using this for years. Kind of Funny's been using it, and we are safe and secure, and it feels so good. Secure your online activity by visiting expressvpn.com/kindoffunny today. That's expressvpn.com/kindoffunny, and you can get an extra 3 months free. expressvpn.com/kindoffunny. And finally, shout out to Honey. We're all shopping online right now, hunting down those perfect gifts, so no one wants to spend their time hunting down the perfect promo code. That's work for Honey, the shopping tool that finds those promo codes for you and automatically applies the best ones to your cart. There's a bazillion holiday codes out there right now, and Honey can get you the savings hookup. Honey supports over 300,000 stores online, and the best part is, once you install the Honey extension in your browser, you never even need to think about it again. It just automatically applies to any time you're shopping on the internet. When you're ready to check out in online shopping, the Honey button drops down. It's got this cute little dancing coin guy, and then you click apply coupons and you're saving cash. If you don't already have Honey, you can be straight up missing out on free savings. It's literally free and installs in just a few seconds, and by getting it, you'll be doing yourself a solid and supporting this show. I absolutely love Honey, been using it forever, and you should be using it too. Get Honey for free at joinhoney.com/kinda. That's joinhoney.com/kinda.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Gary, as we look to the back half of the show, we got some fun ones, and we got one near and dear to your hearts. And I do wish my other gaming dad, Paris Lilly, was here, because I know he loves this. The Matrix Awakens Unreal Engine 5 experience is now out on both PS5 and Xbox Series X and S. This is a next-gen tech demo, and oh boy, Gary, Unreal Engine 5 looking pretty dope, my guy. Did you get to go hands-on with that at all?
Yeah, I had a chance to download it and play around with it today, earlier this afternoon, and I gotta say, I was really blown away by it. It's so impressive. You know, it's the three components. Kind of just the little kind of walking around with Keanu and Carrie-Anne Moss is kind of walking around talking to you, and then the kind of the shooter section, and then the free roam exploration around the city. each one of those I thought was amazing. That virtual Keanu, like you really are staring at it going, wait, is that real or is that UE5? And it's UE5, and it's just absolutely incredible to see. The shooter section, even though you can see it's very, very limited, it feels like you don't necessarily have like free aim, but it's like, you're kind of clicking between different hotspots that you can aim at. And then, it's very quick time eventy, which, by the way, I don't mind. I love quick time events. I think they're fun. And so you can see how it was a little bit limited. And then the final, exploring the city. What I was surprised by, and it goes totally against something that we've been saying since the PlayStation 5 and the Series X came out, is like there's a lot of stuff to love about the next generation, but it doesn't feel like a quantum leap graphically from the old one. A lot of these games that we're playing on Series S and Series X and PlayStation 5 feel like PS4 Pro games, feel like Xbox One games. It doesn't feel like that, oh, now we're in the next generation. And there hasn't really been a generational leap like that in a long time. It feels like, each new console, it's kind of more of a granular update than the next. But that Matrix Awakens demo, which is running in real time on current hardware, was clearly, I don't know if you agree, Mike, but to me was clearly the quantum leap ahead. That's the quantum leap that I feel like we've been missing. And I don't know if that's only possible because it was such a small segment, but it was clearly, they're showing you that there's nothing up their sleeves, right? They're showing everything is real time. You can change the lighting in real time. You can move around, do whatever you want. And it really did feel, that shooter section and just walking around the city really did feel like, okay, these are next gen graphics. Like, where have these been for the last year? These consoles have been out for a year, and Ratchet and Clank and Miles Morales and all these games look really, really good, but none of them really felt like there's no way this would have been possible on maybe Ratchet and Clank with the portaling through the rifts and stuff. But from a graphical standpoint, from a graphical fidelity standpoint, I wanted to get that much closer to photoreal, and I didn't really feel like we've gotten it yet. That UE5 demo was the first time that I thought, oh shit, like photorealistic gaming, we're so close now. We're so much closer. Like, it made me think about where we're going to be on the next generation. But even now with this generation, as developers really start to get their hands on UE5, it's clear. It was just a great showcase, a great illustration of what is in fact already possible. And I was genuinely blown away by it. I was looking at going, oh shit, like I didn't know my console could do this, but it can, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really cool, Gary. It's really exciting how they blended, of course, kind of those different segments from gameplay to cutscene interactions, and to be looking at it and going, man, is this Keanu Reeves just filmed, or is this in the game, in the engine? And it's a lot of fun. I think it's pretty wild to think of like where we're going to be in the future, like you said, Gary, right? Unreal Engine 5 just kind of getting out there to developers. People are really using and utilizing the tools for this next generation of gaming that we're going to see. And this is something that excites me. This is something where it's our first time ever being a hands-on from the public perspective to be able to test something like this out and be able to see it in real time, like you said. And of course, Epic Games worked with a number of partners. One of those partners, Gary, being from Team Xbox, the Coalition, working over there. They got their hands and helped bring Matrix Awakens over to the Xbox. And so you get to see that team who is using Unreal Engine 5 on their next couple of projects. We get to see them. They've already shown off what they can do now in partnership with this Matrix Awakens and Epic Games. And I'm excited to see what the Coalition has up their sleeves and what the whole industry as a whole does. But I think this was a really cool one for people to come out of the Game Awards, be able to go hands-on with it today, get ready for the big movie, but also to go into the holidays and say, man, this is what that next-gen tech is capable of. This is what the future of video games could and should be. And that was a really special experience. So I'm glad that you got to try it, and I can't wait to hear what everybody else thinks of it, because it was dope.
I can't wait to watch the Digital Foundry video where they do the deep dive, right? Because they're going to take that thing apart pixel by pixel. And like I said, it really is like there's every other game experience I've had on the Series X and the PS5, and then there's this new Matrix showcase, and it clearly does feel like it almost feels like, okay, this is what we're going to get on the next console. Here's like a pre-rendered, target render of what things will look like on the next console. But in fact, it is running in real time on the current hardware, and I really, really was very, very impressed by it. And it does make me wonder about some of the games we're playing right now that don't feel like they have that same generational leap. It might just be because UE5 is what is going to unlock a lot of that potential. It clearly is an amazing toolkit, an amazing piece of software. But I think it was also partly due to the fact that we are only a year into this new generation. There's still a lot of PS4s and a lot of Xbox Ones out there, and a lot of these games are still coming out for both platforms. Halo Infinite is also on the Xbox One. I haven't seen it on the Xbox One, but my guess is if you show me a side-to-side video, the Series X version is not going to look like is not going to look a generation ahead of the old one. And the fact that a lot of developers are still having to, service the older generation and the older player base, install base that's out there, might be kind of what's holding it back a little bit. I don't think it's any coincidence that some of the stuff that has looked best this generation, like Ratchet and Clank, is exclusive to PS5, with that portaling Rift technology. I remember the first time I did that thinking, there's no way you could have done this on PS4. And that's why there's no PS4 version. And so I think, once we kind of, fully feel like we're free of the shackles of the last generation, generally, when you look at, the life cycle of a console, 5-6 years or longer, for example, look at The Last of Us Part 2. I've said before, there's no way that game could have come out in the first year of the PlayStation or even the PS4 Pro, because it takes years in many cases for the developers to really learn how to kind of squeeze every last piece of performance out of the hardware. And generally, games that come at the end of a hardware life cycle look way better than the ones that came at the beginning for that reason. So it does make me feel very optimistic, especially after today, seeing that Matrix showcase of what the back end, a few years from now, when the developers have really learned how to squeeze every piece of toothpaste out of the tube of the Series X, what kind of games we'll be playing.
It's exciting stuff. Of course, Gary, last night was the Game Awards. We got to come together as an industry and celebrate video games and all the incredible men and women and human beings that create the games that we love in this awesome medium. Now, Gary, I know you're not the biggest award guy, but did you get to watch it at all?
No, I didn't watch it. I'm not. You're right, Mike. I'm not a fan of awards shows. I don't watch any of them. I don't watch the Oscars or the Golden Globes or any of them. I feel like if something really exciting or good's going to happen, like the clip of that will be on YouTube tomorrow, and I'll watch that. I don't need to sit through the whole 3 hours of it. Generally, every time the Oscars are on or the Game Awards or whatever it is, you see the tweets at the end of it, like, "Oh, that was kind of a slog," or "Wasn't really that great," and it's like, why did I didn't want to sit through that. And it's partly my own fault. I was thinking about watching it, but then I got sucked down a YouTube rabbit hole. I was watching this compilation of clips from the Maury Show, DNA paternity tests. You are not the father. Oh my God! So you've seen those shows, Mike?
Oh yeah,
the
what
lie
a
detector
Wednesday
ones.
night you had, Gary.
The lie detector determined that was a lie. Oh my God! And they're throwing chairs around and stuff. I had a fucking great time. So I was able to skip the Game Awards, knowing full well that all of the trailers, which is 90% of the reason why people watch that show, or any kind of viral moments that might have come out of the actual awards part, I'll watch it tomorrow, kind of a la carte. I don't need to sit through the whole thing. So I did get to. So at the very least, I did get to watch all of the Xbox specific trailers that were shown. We should talk about the Halo TV series teaser that they showed.
I got it on here. Yep.
The Sonic movie, I thought, looked great. I'm very excited about Sonic 2. I was a big fan of the first one, as you know. Very excited about where the creative direction of this second one. And I just want to say, again, I don't really care about who gets what award, but I was glad to see that It Takes Two got Game of the Year. I've been saying for months now it's my personal favorite Game of the Year. I remember thinking for a while I'm gonna get bummed out because I really believe it's the best Game of the Year, but it's gonna get eclipsed by other more glamorous games or whatever, or the fact that it's co-op only is gonna hurt it. So I'm really, really glad to see that the judges recognized it as, again, I think an absolute masterpiece, a masterclass in game design, and hopefully it's the first of many, many more awards for that game because it so richly deserves it.
Yeah, it's very special, Gary. And, big congratulations to Joseph Ferris and the team over at Hazelight for It Takes Two and the recognition. Game of the Year. What a huge award, right?
He's
Gary?
3 for 3 now, by the way. Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons was a great game. Way Out, I really enjoyed that as well. And It Takes Two, he just gets better every time with this concept.
Every time, Gary. And it's one of those, it's awesome to see the recognition. Awesome to see somebody like him who is leading his team over there to create some really, really unique and awesome experiences. And I know us here at the Kind of Funny Xcast, we talked about that game. We all really, really enjoyed that game and what it brought to the table, gameplay, story, and all of that in between. That was a ton of fun. And so, yeah, congratulations to that team over there. That is your Game of the Year award winner. I wanted to take a moment and just catch you up, Gary, on the Game Awards. Personally, I think this is Jeff Keighley's best game awards yet. I think every single year and all the projects he does, he improves, right? And there's always room for improvement when we leave that game awards or whatever project he does. But I truly and honestly believe every year it gets bigger, it gets brighter, it gets bolder, and it gets better, right? Great musical guests, cool celebrities there. You got to see the audience return after a year and a half or really 2 years of COVID, and not being able to do that live was something special. And there's a lot to be said, right? That's a 3-hour ordeal, like you said, and was very front loaded with the big announcements. I truly believe that all of these announcements, all of these ads, all of these trailers really overshadowed the awards. I think it was something we talked about during the live stream. Of course, me and the Kind of Funny crew live reacted to it and got to celebrate on a lovely Wednesday watching it with our community. But as I looked back on it, I'm like, man, we really didn't spend that much time on the awards, right? We didn't get to celebrate the nominees. We didn't get to have the people come up and give those incredible speeches that live on forever, like Greg Miller and Trending Game of the Year when he won that, right? And I think that really got overshadowed this year by a lot of announcements and trailers. And it almost felt like we were just at like a mini E3 press conference, like we've seen Jeff host in the summer. And it kind of takes away from the moment and what we're really there for. And I understand you want to get people to tune in, you want to get people to lock in and have a good time and see these things. But, you know, the awards really seem like that's why we're here and that's what we should be doing. So the balance this year just seemed to be tipped more on the announcements and the trailers and trying to keep people eyes on, as opposed to celebrating the people who won and letting them get their moment to recognize their team and the industry and just celebrate that. So moving forward, I hope he finds a better balance. But like I said, this was the best one so far, in my opinion. Every year he gets better. And I think he takes all of that to heart, right? All the feedback he hears from the industry, he continues to grow. So shout out to Jeff Keighley for another good one. But you know who we're going to shout out right now is Team Xbox, Gary Whitta, because we had a great year and actually a first in a long time for Xbox, getting some big time nominations and some awards. Actually, Gary, I looked back on the years before. In 2018, they had one winner, Forza Horizon 4 for racing and sports. 2019, 0 winners. 2020, 1 winner, which was Flight Sim for the best simulation game. And now you take a look, Gary, and it was a big year for Team Xbox. It gives you hope as an Xbox fan as you look back on the year you had. You had a lot of great games. You got more games on the way. But we're going to talk about some of the games that Microsoft and Team Xbox were able to bring home. And, you know, I think there's going to be a conversation here. And if anybody in the comment section isn't happy with that, I am going to include Deathloop on the Team Xbox side because that is Arcane Studios. It was console exclusive for the first year, but that is a Microsoft studio, and it's exciting to see. So when you look at it, Gary, 6 total awards over on the Xbox side by my account. You have Best Game Direction, Best Art Direction for Deathloop. Then you have Best Audio Design, Innovation and Accessibility, and Best Sports and Racing Game with Forza Horizon 5, and Best Sim and Strategy Game, Age of Empires 4, Gary. So a lot of cool things to celebrate over on the Xbox side.
Yeah, glad to see them doing well. The statistic that you mentioned earlier about how few nominations have got in recent years is very sobering, and I think a great illustration of the fact that we've observed it many times on this podcast before. The Xbox One was not a banner generation for the Xbox. The 20 years of Xbox. When you look back on it, you don't look back on Xbox One those years as the good times. Right, the good times with the original, the 360 for sure. What a great generation! And then Xbox One, we know, and full credit for Microsoft. In their museum experience they put up recently, they acknowledged that the launch was a disaster and the Kinect was a big mistake and it cost them dearly. I remember thinking recently, I think we talked about like what are the best games of the Xbox One generation, and we're all kind of scratching our heads because there really aren't that many. It was slim pickings. And as you're right, you're seeing that reflected in the awards and the nominations. But I think we're already seeing a little bit of an uptick there. If you're going by awards as any kind of metric, then clearly there's been some big improvement, and hopefully lots more to come.
Yeah, really, really great. Of course, we send nothing but love and praise over to Double Fine as me, Barrett, and yourself. We love Psychonauts 2. Tim and the team unfortunately did not win any awards, but were nominated for a number of categories. So big shout out to Psychonauts 2
and you know what?
and the year
Tim
they
and
had.
Team, Double Fine, Psychonauts 2 is Game of the Year in my heart.
Woo!
So
I think,
this
is just the beginning of Game of the Year season. I think Psychonauts is going to win plenty of stuff before it's all over.
And so really, really special. I know me and Barrett, we love that when we keep talking about that.
Artful Escape got wiped out, right? That was my a close
Death's Door, Gary.
I know there was a lot Inscription, right? A lot of these games that people that are on a lot of people's games of the year list. Again, I thought Ratchet and Clank should have been talked about. I thought it was incredible. It's weird. And then you look at something like Forza again, which again is very iterative, right? It really is just going to feel like, yep, this is the next Forza game. Very well done, but that's really all it is. Weird to see a game that was reviewed that well and received that well kind of strike out in terms of wins. But I kind of understand why. The biggest moment for me was I remember I was watching some in between the paternity tests, so I was going to check in my Twitter every 20 minutes to see what was going on, because all my friends are at the Game Awards tweeting about what's winning what. And I remember the Indie Award, and especially debut Indie. I remember thinking where the hell is the Artful Escape? Again, it's on Game Pass. If you haven't checked it out yet, please check out the Artful Escape. It was very, very close to beating It Takes Two as my favorite game of the year. In the end, I kind of felt like It Takes Two was just too strong, but it was my second favorite game of this year. What a wonderful experience. And I really, really do hope it gets more awards recognition before the season's over.
Yeah, I think we're going to have some talks here throughout the month and into next year about our game of the years. And I'm excited to see what other outlets and just the video game community as a whole really celebrates as some of their favorite games. Because to me, Gary, my favorite part about Game of the Year is the game that speaks to you individually the most, and the game that you loved playing, that you had the most stories with. And I love hearing everybody's different, takes and where they put their enthusiasm and fun. But one I want to highlight here is Forza Horizon 5 Playground Games winning innovation and accessibility. Gary, this is something on the podcast you and I and Paris and Barrett have been talking about, is Xbox has been pushing accessibility to the forefront on all things they do. And it's really, really cool to see one of their teams, one of their developers with Playground Games win innovation and accessibility. I think that just shows you the effort they're putting behind that. And it really gets recognized and showcased there on the biggest stage. I think that was something special as well to me.
Yeah, I remember noting that at the time, thinking I'm glad they won that, because I did see some of the stuff that they did, with the sign language interpreter, and you can go into the accessibility options right from literally the very, very first thing the game does before you can even press start is access the accessibility options. And I thought that was really, really, really cool. And it's in the in a way, it's something that we kind of have to see, right? It's in the air supply now. Like for the last couple of years, I think people, like Steven Spawn and many others who have been really, really pushing for more accessibility in games. I feel like they've finally kind of broken down that firewall, and game developers and companies are listening, and some are doing more than others. But what like Last of Us 2, I think, did some incredible things with accessibility. Now we're seeing Forza Horizon 5 doing all these amazing things, and there's farther to go. But I remember something as simple as people used to complain about how subtitles on were too small to read on a screen, and why can't we just make the subtitles bigger? That would seem like a fairly simple thing to do. Most of the games that I've played recently now have that option added, and it's a small thing. But again, that's, progress is made up of lots of small things. So I'm glad to see that. And I'm glad to see Microsoft really leading the way here. Where's Sony's accessibility controller? I feel like they've got a little bit of catching up to do in that regard. And, credit to Phil and everyone at Xbox who's led the charge on this. And, they've done a bunch of great media, a lot of great marketing around, great, more diversity, more inclusion, more accessibility. Gaming is for everyone, not just able-bodied people. And it's been wonderful to see.
Yeah. Congratulations to everyone who was nominated, all the award winners, to Team Xbox, since we're over here on the Kind of Funny Xcast, but really everyone in the industry for coming out, being a part of the show, and getting to showcase all of their hard work and being recognized for that. Congratulations to everyone involved. And Jeff Keighley, great job on another great show. It was a ton of fun to watch. And I look forward to seeing how you improve and what you do next year, because it is always awesome to see how this guy grows within all the fun stuff he does. But Gary Whitta, of course, alongside the awards, there was a lot of trailers and first reveals and world premieres. And of course, we got to talk about them because we get to see new games. And who doesn't love seeing new games? So, Gary, I've put together a list of things that have caught my eye or were Xbox centric. And so I'm going to go through them. And if you have anything more, like maybe the Sonic 2 trailer, we will talk about that afterwards because I would love to talk Sonic with you. But first up, Star Wars, Gary, and they call you the Rogue One. I know sometimes you can't talk too much about the galaxy far, far away, but we got to see Star Wars Eclipse from Quantic Dream. This is coming from their website, Gary, a new action adventure, multiple character, branching narrative game set in the High Republic era of the iconic Star Wars galaxy, now early in development. Gary, this was a dope trailer right here. A lot of cool moments where you said, oh, wow, look at that. They had a great beat going on with the theme and the music. You got to see Yoda right here. And this one that I think caught everybody's eye. And then it said Quantic Dream. And, you know, a lot of people had some question marks there. But when we look at this, Gary, this is the creators of, you know, Detroit Become Human, Heavy Rain, Beyond Two Souls. Really going to have some awesome player choice in that. What do you think about seeing this coming to the Star Wars universe?
So first of all, my question is, are we even sure that this is coming out on Xbox? Did they say anything about platforms? When I went to my Xbox YouTube channel today, it had all the Game Awards trailers, but Star Wars Eclipse was not on there. So I don't know if this is like maybe some kind of PlayStation exclusive or if it is truly multi-platform. I don't know if there's any clarification.
I don't believe it's PlayStation exclusive. I believe it is multi-platform for what I saw. I'm going to do a double check for you right now.
I'm just going by the fact that the Xbox YouTube channel did not put that trailer up, but they put up everything else. But okay, so one thing that I took away from all the trailers, I watched all the trailers earlier today, the gaming industry's gotten very, very good at making these cinematic trailers.
Woo,
they're really, really good. Really, I enjoyed watching almost all of them. So far as the Star Wars one is concerned, I think it's quite brave of them to set this during the kind of High Republic stroke prequel era, because, you know, that is, you know, those movies were not well liked by many Star Wars fans, and I think remain quite controversial. But you know, the Obi-Wan Kenobi series is going to go back there, and you know, why not? I actually think it's kind of cool that they're.
Yeah, Gary, as just a random average jabroni, what is the High era? What is the High Republic era? What you say? You bring up what series, what trilogy? What should I know?
So they introduced. I mean, I'm actually not an expert on this particular part of the canon, but they introduced the High Republic era recently, or reintroduced it. I'm not entirely sure, but there's a series of novels and other, you know, efforts on the publishing side to really kind of flesh out the High Republic is the time when like the Republic and the Jedi were kind of at the peak of their powers.
Okay.
You know, and obviously what we see in later on is the much more diminished and the downfall of the Jedi. So whether or not this is actually prequel era or significantly before that, I'm not entirely sure. You know, the trailer is obviously very ambiguous in that regard.
And it seems to have Yoda, but also Yoda, you know, he's an old man.
That could just be another, you know, Jedi of the same species. Who the hell knows?
Yeah.
But, you know, certainly the Jedi Council chamber and other things that we saw, Trade Federation looking type ships, you know, all felt very prequel-y.
The rough timeline is at least what they say now is High Republic is roughly 200 years before any of the films. So that's what we're looking at, of like maybe it's around that time, maybe it's a little later. It's still too early to say.
So it didn't feel a lot like Star Wars to me, even with the lights, you know, occasional lightsaber battles and stuff. Maybe it was just the music. There weren't any familiar themes in there. It was very, very dark, very gritty. It didn't radiate a Star Wars vibe to me in general. So far as the Quantic Dream thing is concerned, I'm kind of mixed on that. I actually really enjoyed Detroit Become Human. I thought I really, really enjoyed playing it. And one of the things that I know a lot of people don't like Quantic Dream games. They think they're all shit. And, you know, that's a valid opinion as well. I enjoyed Heavy Rain. I never played Beyond Two Souls, but I also really enjoyed Detroit Become Human as well. So I kind of like those games. They're kind of guilty pleasures for me. And it's worth, you know, noting perhaps that one of the things that Quantic Dream is really known for is, you know, branching based, kind of linear choice based narrative stuff. One of the best Star Wars games ever made is that same vibe, right? Knights of the Old Republic. It's all about making narrative choices. So this could be an interesting, it allows them to really kind of build the game around the story. What kind of story they're telling, it remains to be seen. And then, there's a little bit of controversy because, Jeff opens the show saying, harassment and abuse have no place in the games industry. And then they feature a trailer from a company that has, quite a lot of, controversy surrounding it in that regard. So I think a lot of people had mixed feelings seeing the trailer and then seeing who the developer was. There's definitely a lot to get your teeth into there.
Yeah, it's a lot. And we'll keep it positive here since we don't have much time to dive into all of that. But on the flip side, it is cool to start seeing the world open up, the sandbox open up that we talk about with Disney and all of those properties, right? From Star Wars and beyond. Now we're kind of dipping our toe into like, oh, there's other people playing in this sandbox. And we're going to start to see games and worlds really created and allowing the player to jump in and have some fun. So it is cool to see a new Star Wars game on the run and being developed. So early in development, but continuing on, Remedy showed up, Gary, and they had a special one. Alan Wake 2 coming to you, Gary, with the big sequel here. So Alan Wake 2, this is from their website. Alan Wake 2 has been written into reality, and it's coming your way in 2023 for PC via the Epic Games Store, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series S and X. You read that right. Alan Wake 2 will be truly next-generation experience. Not only that, but Alan Wake 2 also turns up the level of dread as our very first dive into survival horror genre. So expect a chilling experience with familiar psychological horror elements. Gary, Alan Wake, a big one for Xbox fans all around the globe. They really love this series and excited to see Remedy bring out Alan Wake 2. Did you have any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, Remedy is a company that I think has just really, really kind of rocketed up in everyone's estimation in recent years. The Max Payne games, really good. People like those. Alan Wake, they're all just like really good games, all like solid, like kind of B+, A- games. And then Control comes out and it's like the first A++ game. Like, we can actually do a masterpiece. Yes. And so, post Control Remedy, I think is, a much more interesting. Now anything they do is like, oh shit, from the makers of Control. The Alan Wake remaster obviously was really, really nice. And from the little that they showed of Alan Wake 2, it looks gorgeous. The survival horror genre, they're apparently never going to make Silent Hill games anymore. That's, someone needs to come in and fill the void. Like I said, anything, anytime you see from the makers of Control now, even if you've never seen anything else that they did, you want to pay attention to it. And again, I like the fact that they're kind of bringing, Alan Wake was like, I guess, a successful game, but not like it didn't set the world on fire. So the fact they're going back to it just because I actually think it's really encouraging. They're not going back to it because the first game was so successful. They're like, oh shit, we better figure out a way to, do a sequel because financially we have to do it. It's more about like, we love these characters. We love this world. We have a lot more, capital now on the table, post Control. Let's spend it. Let's use that to do something we love. They obviously really, really have a lot of affection for Alan Wake. And so I think it's, a good reason to be optimistic about the sequel.
Exciting stuff. Keeping it moving. Suicide Squad killed the Justice League. We get to see the first look at gameplay, Gary Wood, and it was an exciting one. It had all the vibes that you wanted. We had Amanda Waller come out and be on display on the main stage of the Game Awards, which was really, really fun. And then we get to see the crew, King Shark, Deadshot, all coming out, putting on a show with Captain Boomerang and everybody in between. And this one, Gary, it's funny, Ryan McCaffrey, and I'm sure many others read my mind, it gave me a lot of Sunset Overdrive vibes. And I think that's probably just these generic alien things that you're going to slay through. But the movement, the traversal, all gave me that vibe of like, man, I miss Sunset Overdrive. And I'm excited about this idea of just 4 players coming together and smashing out the bad Justice League. We got to see a glimpse of Bad Flash, controlled by Brainiac, and it looked fun, Gary. It looked like, hey, this is going to be me and 4 friends just running around this world, having a good dumb time.
Yeah, this is another one where all you really need to tell me is the developer, and I'm in.
Yes.
Right? You say Rock. You say, hey, here's a new DC Comics superhero game. Oh, and by the way, it's from Rocksteady. You're like, yeah, I'm in. Like, I don't need to know anything else. So I'm completely happy about that. And I also think, it's maybe a little bit fortunate for them that Suicide Squad, just in the public consciousness, got a bit of a boost from the most recent movie. The first movie, a lot of people who saw the first movie, and that was their first introduction to these characters. It's kind of hard to get excited about Suicide Squad after that first movie. But the new movie, the James Gunn movie, was obviously so much more fun. And I think got a lot more people excited about, give us more Suicide Squad. So I think the movie has probably helped them in terms of the kind of the appetite for more of these characters, even though it'll be obviously a slightly different take on it. Rocksteady always just has their own version of it rather than copying, whatever, the movie was. But I'm sure there'll be some tonal overlap, just like there was, the Guardians of the Galaxy game recently, even though it was its own thing, felt like it took a lot of tonal cues, again, from the James Gunn movies. And so, like I said, I literally only need to know one word. Rocksteady has so much equity, so much goodwill in the bank from the Batman games that they've done, that's really all you need to know. There's every reason to believe for that reason. There's a handful of developers out there, Insomniac, and Rocksteady among them. It's like, you just tell me that, and I'm all in.
Now I have to bring in the Batman himself, my good friend Barrett Courtney. Barrett, you know all things Batman's video games, and of course we have Gotham Knights and the Suicide Squad coming soon enough. What were your thoughts on the Suicide Squad to start?
After last night's trailer, I'm cautiously optimistic. And before that, I was a little more optimistic and seeing gameplay. And because that was the big question. We knew this was Rocksteady, like Gary was saying. Before last night, it was like all right, yeah, they're making a Suicide Squad game, and it's going to be a very different vibe from the Batman stuff. Like, I trust them, and I want to see, what their vision is. Seeing, actual gameplay last night, We'll see how it pans out. You bringing up what was it?
Sunset Overdrive.
Sunset Overdrive. It also gave me a little bit of. It wasn't. It reminds me of a few too many generic open world games from a gameplay standpoint, moment to moment. Traversal seems cool and creative. The second any of them start bringing out guns, I'm wondering, is Rocksteady going to be able to pull that off with it? With this being their, not just their first main big video game outside of the Batman franchise in so long, right? Their first third-person shooter game. And that is the thing that I think worries me the most. Nothing that was shown last night is, fully convincing me of that they'll be able to pull it off. But again, I don't know if that's something that we're really going to be able to know until we get a controller in our hands. So
I'm surprised, Barrett, because I know, again, as Mike said, we all know what a huge fan of all the Batman games you are, and there isn't a bad Arkham Batman game, right? Rocksteady's only made good Batman games, and so I'm surprised that you're not just kind of more surely this is going to be good as well.
I mean, that's what I was feeling before last night's trailer, and then because the big question was all right, what is the game? And then when we saw glimpses of what the moment to moment game is. We'll see. I'm excited that they are, again saying, what was it? I think at the end of this trailer, I think it said 2022, but I might be wrong there. They're still saying 2022, so we'll see if they actually still hit that for next year. I'm excited to check it out at this point, and I've been saying this for the last couple of years. Or since these games have been announced, I'm more interested in Gotham Knights, just from a gameplay and perspective of that being a little more closer to what the Batman games were. But I'm, of course, I'm going to be excited to check them out.
I just want to say, just in general, in terms of keeping the optimism up, between what Insomniac has been doing with Spider-Man, and they've got Wolverine on the way now, and the Batman games, and Suicide Squad. It's such a good time to be into superhero video games. I'm old enough to remember when all superhero games were so shitty. For a long time, they were the Spider-Man games were terrible. The Superman games are notorious for being shitty. For many generations, superhero games were all shitty.
There are
it was so rare to see a good one.
Games. I will say, on the other side though of seeing more story and tonal stuff, I was laughing and having a good time. Captain Boomerang talking shit to Flash. I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed kind of that through line throughout the entire trailer. That was fun. So, and that's something I feel like that's almost completely out of Rocksteady's wheelhouse when it comes to tone. The Batman games are so dark and serious, and they write funny things for characters like Harley and Joker in the kind of middle of all of that, like darker serious, more serious tone, but they're full out going somewhere completely different with this one. And I think so far from what we've seen, I am confident on that aspect of like, all right, they're doing something very different outside of maybe their comfort zone. And I think they're nailing it so far.
I'm excited. Let's check out some Xbox centric reveals right now. Gary, we got to see our first ever trailer for the Halo TV series. Years in the making, finally almost a reality. Paramount Plus coming soon. Gary, what kind of vibes did you get this? You are the movie guy. You've seen this before. I mean, we got to see Master Chief. We got to see Halsey a little bit. This is pretty, it gave me good vibes, but also I think it left me wanting more. Like I was like, man, that's it. Like I want to see more. I'm ready for more.
I mean, so maybe the trailer did its job then, right?
Yeah, I guess so, Gary, because I left that going, I would like to see more of this, but right at the end here, you're going to see Chief, and that got me really excited because he looks good, and the Pelicans here were awesome. I enjoyed a lot of this.
It looks good. It looks like they spent the money, right? My impression is that it feels like, because they work very closely with 343 on it. The fans of the game will feel like, yeah, they got it right. And again, even more so than any of the games, this is really the product or the extension of the Halo, mythology that does need to onboard new people, because so many people are going to tune into this show without any knowledge of Halo, never even played a Halo game, may not have even have heard of it. Like, to them, you have to assume this is their first time experience in this world, and you've got to, introduce it to them. So, that I feel like is the big challenge. They're going to strike that balance between, any comic adaptation or video game adaptation has to strike that balance of how do you please the diehards who know every piece of lore and all the people that are coming to it knowing nothing. You have to kind of find a way to navigate that. It looks like they spent the money. It looks cool. The only gripe I would have is a gripe that I have with trailers in general now, where people's attention spans are so short that they have that 5-second micro trailer at the beginning, because that trailer was meant to build up to the shot of Master Chief at the end, right? You go, oh my God, that's the Master Chief, and everyone goes, woohoo! But you saw it already at the beginning because they put it in the 5-second micro trailer. It completely blows the reveal at the end. But yeah, it looks good. I actually froze it on the Master Chief armor, because I remember thinking, like, we've seen all these different kind of cosplays and versions. Microsoft's always had its like official version of Microsoft. Master Chief, they built the armor, but they've always looked kind of like, I don't know, it's not quite as good as it looks in the in the CG renders. And I freeze framed it, and it's like, yeah, now it looks like they got it right. Like, that's what like a proper expensive full Hollywood skill set version of the Master Chief armor would look like. It looks like it really would, if they build it in real life. It looks really good. So, who's to say? I mean, like I said, it left me wanting more as well.
Yeah, there's always one Halloween costume that I've wanted since I was a young boy, and it's been getting my own Spartan outfit. One day I'm going to have a very nice Spartan outfit that's customized with my own colors, a special helmet, because that's all I ever want to wear to costume parties, corporate events, Halloween. I just want to dress up as a Spartan. So one day I'm going to get a badass suit of armor like that, because I love seeing it. And it looks good. Like you said, we've seen cosplayers do it before, but this one does look like the next level, which is awesome. And you know what else looks like the next level, Gary? Hellblade 2. Here we go. This is what you wanted to see. It's gameplay coming in from Ninja Theory, and it's just as creepy. The tone is just what you thought it would be. And oh boy, Gary, this was a wild, nice long trailer. I don't know how long this is, Barrett. I think it might be 7 minutes, but it's chunky.
It's like 6.5.
Yeah, 6 minutes and 2 seconds.
6 minutes. So this is a chunky trailer here, Gary, and it is just like what you would think coming from Hellblade 1. Me and Andy are actually currently playing Hellblade together on our stream, so it's my first experience into it, so it's very fresh in my mind. But to see this running in gameplay, in engine, you're like, wow, this is exactly what you would expect out of Ninja Theory as they continue to grow and have the Microsoft backing.
Yeah, this is another one where, I got other than the Matrix Awakens, this was the trailer that I kind of felt like, yeah, this looks like a proper next gen game. It really did look wonderful. I watched it with headphones on, and I recommend if you've already watched it, watch it again with headphones on, because the voices in Senua's head come at you from all different places in your headphones, and it kind of makes it, it kind of gives you that feeling of like, you're hearing these voices in your head. The giant was really awesome, right? The giant was terrifying. It almost kind of gave me like an Attack on Titan vibe.
Yeah.
Really cool. Kind of hard to see. It was almost hard to tell like where the actual gameplay was. Like it almost felt like it was straddling this uncanny valley between cinematic and gameplay. I was trying to figure, like, what point is the player actually interacting here? Because it almost kind of felt like it was just one big cinematic, but they called it a gameplay trailer, and there certainly were some parts where it felt like you that kind of feeling where you're walking along behind the main character's shoulder, and okay, I'm controlling her now. But once the giant showed up and it all got very chaotic, it was kind of hard to tell like what parts of that would have been gameplay and what would have been kind of scripted. But no, it looked fantastic. I mean, as a graphical showcase, I think it was other than the Matrix, the most impressive thing that was shown.
It's awesome, Gary. And so let's keep it going with the awesome. I know this is going to get Barrett right at the edge of his seat and chatting it up with us. Cuphead, the delicious last course DLC was finally dated, Gary. It's not a dream anymore. Cuphead and Mugman are returning. And I'm really, really excited about that. June 30th, 2022, Gary. This summer, you and the gang are going to be able to play. I'm going to just go right to Barrett because Barrett is my Cuphead expert. Did this get you excited, Barrett?
God, I've been waiting for this since I was working at IGN, Mike, right? Like Cuphead had finally come out after years of it going dark. And they had eventually announced the delicious last course, cutely titled for DLC, right? And I feel like the last time we heard about it was, the last E3 that I worked with IGN. So that would have been 2018. I remember being on the show floor. And I feel like that was the last time we significantly heard about this whatsoever. And so this was a big moment because it really felt like after a while, like, all right, we might not be getting this ever. And maybe they're just skipping on to a Cuphead 2 or whatever it is. But I'm glad that we're finally here. I really loved the whole style of the trailer that we got with the puppets, and even before that where they had like the whole like band come out and play, and you had the singers come out. I even like unplugged my headphones and muted my mic so Alyssa could watch and like listen to the music and stuff like that, just because she always loves a good live music at a show, right? And so it was just like the whole presentation I absolutely adored. It's coming a little later than I want to for a date announcement, right? Like when the entire time we were watching the trailer, like, oh, it's got to be coming soon. Like maybe it's coming in January. I got into like the really hype moment where I was like, maybe it's dropping tonight. Let's go. Not happening. But June 30th, Tim's birthday. That'll be exciting for him. And I'm just ready for more Cuphead. This is one of my games that when I'm not really in the mood to play anything else, but I'm down to kind of like turn off my brain and listen to something that Alyssa's watching in the background. I just go back to Cuphead and I play it and I play through those bosses. It's such a beautiful game. I love the gameplay for it, and I'm excited for more. And honestly, Tim Geddes is a coward if he doesn't accept my challenge of both of us doing a blind playthrough to see who can play it, beat it first on stream. Because I think we need to have it decided once and for all who's the better Cuphead player. I mean, we already decided it was me, but I want to give him another shot, just to get the kid another shot.
Don't be a coward, Tim Geddes is right. And of course, we get to see Miss Chalice, which will be a new playable character, right, Barrett? So that's really exciting.
Yeah, she was the one who would give you like your special abilities, and they were leading with that for a while when they were talking about that game a few years ago. Like I think we knew that she was going to be a playable character, but it was still fun to get like moments of gameplay here and there, just to finally see something.
Of course, as well, Studio MDHR, very excited to see them return. Gary, what were your thoughts on that one?
I'll just say I'm very, very happy for Barrett and for all the Cuphead fans out there. Cuphead just wasn't for me. I admire and I appreciate it so much what they did in terms of game design, and especially with the aesthetics, going back, and capturing that vibe of kind of the early days of animation. They just absolutely nailed it. It's so incredible what they did. It just wasn't for me. The unforgiving, gameplay is too much for poor old me. I need my baby mode. And while I think what they did with the aesthetic was wonderful and original and delightful, for me, it's unappealing. Like it doesn't work for me personally, but I can step outside of that and completely appreciate and admire what an incredible piece of art it is.
I want to take a quick moment right now as I look at the Run of Show Google Doc. I want to give a big shout out to former co-host and somebody that we will always support and always love. Miss Alana Pierce has jumped into the Google Doc and said, happy holidays. I hope everyone is having a great day. Alana, thank you so much for your friendship, for your support. Thanks for being an incredible human being. You freaking rock if you hear this. So shout out to Alana Pierce. Let's end the show with two final pieces. One, Gary Whitta, Crossfire X release date, February 10th, 2022. Why you need to know about it? Because Remedy is making the single player campaign, and you know Remedy makes banger games right now. We talked about it earlier before with Alan Wake. We've talked about Control and all that jazz. Now we're getting a military shooter with Crossfire X. Now, of course, Smilegate is the ones behind the multiplayer. They got Remedy to do the single player. Gary, we played the multiplayer before a lot of Xbox fans were able to jump in and actually try the multiplayer a while ago, and I did not like the multiplayer at all. It did not feel good. I don't think it ran good compared to modern day shooters. So I will check it out because Remedy doing the single player. But man, does this game have a big hill to climb after my first impression with what we got with the multiplayer.
I mean, again, we'll go back to what we said about, again, you hear Remedy and your ears perk up immediately. Certainly the single player campaign is going to be worth a look. But beyond that, I remember when they first showed this, when they showed it again last night, I watched the trailer today and just kind of feeling like it all looks and feels a bit generic to me, like a bunch of, butch futuristic soldiers with guns running around, crashing through windows, shooting each other. I'm not getting a sense of anything particularly like, what's the angle? Like, why, like, what is it that got this game greenlit? From a creative perspective, even the title Crossfire X just sounds really generic.
Here's what got the angle. It's huge multiplayer outside of the States. Everybody really loves it. They took a big bag of cash and they threw it at Remedy and they said, please make this relevant in the States. Make us a single player. So maybe the multiplayer will catch on in the States. That's my thoughts. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure you put two and two together. That's what's happening here. But our final piece from the Game Awards, I have a bird in my ear from Bear Courtney says, Persona 4 Arena Ultimax not coming to Xbox platforms, originally launched on the Xbox 360. What the heck just happened here? So Bear Courtney wanted to make sure all of you Xbox fans out there knew.
I just wanted to, take us back a couple months where, all the people out there in the Twitterverse were convinced Persona 5 coming to Game Pass imminently. It's going to happen any day now, all of the stuff. And I've been throwing out the conspiracy theory for the last few years that no mainline Persona game is allowed to go to any other console other than PlayStation. The other consoles have gotten like the weird spin-off games like the
Strikers.
Strikers, Arena Ultimax when it originally launched back in the day, all this stuff, but never a mainline Persona game. The only time it's ever happened, quote unquote, going to another platform was Persona 4 Golden, either last year or the year before that, going to PC. Yeah. But that's the only example, and that's technically not another console. Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, which originally did come out on Xbox as well, is getting re-released and it's coming to PlayStation 4, Nintendo Switch, and Steam. No Xbox. So I just, wanted to throw that out there again.
I think I tend to agree with you. I think that the relationship that Sony has with Atlus and the Persona franchises, I mean, it's not the only example. There are many of these, right? Well, technically it's a third-party game, but they have an understanding, they have an arrangement that, these will remain platform exclusives.
Well, with that, Gary Whitta, that is the run of show today. We got to talk Halo Infinite campaign, you and I. We got to talk about the Game Awards. Big congratulations to all the award winners and Team Xbox for a great year. We have one final show next week to cap off 2021. Then we're all going to enjoy the holiday break. So thank you to everyone for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Gary Whitta, let's do it. Peace.